G'day my gorgeous goblins, and happy Halloween! My name is Aileen, your resident fairy godmother, and today we're turning this pumpkin into a spooky harvest spider. At least that was the plan. I literally grew these pumpkins from seed, hoping they'd develop a more natural shape and texture than what I could achieve on my own, but alas, they just had to come out looking cute and pretty. So instead I sculpted this one using thermoplastic, which is fitting because the entire doll is sculpted out of thermoplastic. Using a heat gun, I sculpt some warbler over a tinfoil base to create her upper body, and once that's completed, I insert 2 wire prongs into the back of her head, and the other 2 ends into her butt. Abdomen? The thing they keep the web in. And speaking of web, did you guys know that spiders spin their webs using little finger-like appendages outside their buttholes called spinnerets? And I know this because a wolf spider so very kindly gave me an in-person demonstration. I had to see it, so now all of you have to as well.
I cannot make this up. Her butthole has fingers. There are fingers in her butthole. Look at them! Ma'am, what are you doing?
For her eyes, I use these little amber flatbacks. And now that the body is done, let's take a moment to admire how politely she sits. Oh good lord, he sits so politely. Now let's give her some legs. I measured out 10 strands of wire in differing lengths, 4 long, 4 short, and 2 extra small. Then, after curling the ends that'll be attached to the body, I start sculpting the segments. Because Warbler loves clinging to itself while it's still malleable, I like to separate each piece using a sheet of tin foil. That way nothing sticks while sculpting, and once it's cooled you should still be able to peel it away and everything should still be individually placed and posable. Then just continue the same steps several times until you have a full set of posable legs like these. And while we still have the heat gun out, let's make some added decoration for the pumpkin stem by making a curly tendril. To do this, you'd think it'd be as simple as rolling out a piece of warbler like it's a snake of clay, but it's just gonna become brittle and fall apart in your hands. Instead, cut a piece like this. Make it as thin as you possibly can while still being workable, while also having one end somewhat wide to work as a tab for you to sculpt onto the stem. Then apply just enough heat with your heat gun and then carefully twirl it around something thin, smooth, and tapered to a point like a chopstick. I'm just using my sculpting tools. And if you did it correctly, you should have this cute little spring. And this is how the spider's looking with everything attached. I sculpted some spikes and added texture onto the bigger legs, and I also sculpted this big pumpkin leaf. And I also attached this small brass stamping to give it an added touch of gold. It also looks like a pumpkin leaf. And I didn't forget his little front grabby arms. Now let's prime it for painting. Don't forget to use a respirator when using Mr. Super Clear, this stuff is no joke. Now for the part that I was most excited for, let's make the pumpkin look like a pumpkin. Using acrylic paint cut with water, I mix up the perfect shade of pumpkin orange and proceed to feel my brain melt with serotonin as I apply it. Just look at that vibrancy! Doesn't it make you happy? When I first started this project, I debated sculpting the pumpkin to look like a jack-o'-lantern, but I ultimately decided against it as I thought it might look a bit too cheap, so I decided to paint one instead. I tried to paint it to look like natural, intricate markings like you see on real spiders. This one just happens to look like a spooky face. For the legs, I want them to vaguely look like a pumpkin vine, so I give them a base layer of brown, before sponging on various shades of green, and then blushing with a dark plum. Even after shading, the pumpkin was still looking a little too plain, so I attached this spiderweb mesh around its base and blended it in with acrylic paint. But that still wasn't enough, so I applied some glitter using matte varnish cut with water to make it look crystallized. And at this point I decided the legs were too plain as well, so taking the same green paint as I used before, I mixed in some buttercup yellow and painted on some spots. And that's the main paint job done. I was tempted to stop here, but what's a spider without hair? Besides, I want him to resemble the most terrifying thing to any gardener. Powdery mildew. But with one final dry brush of paint, they're done. Everyone, say hello to Harold H. Pumpernickel. I was honestly torn on a name for this one, but I ultimately decided to name her after the dinner plate-sized huntsman spider living in my studio, who I named Harold before realizing that she was a mama after I found all of her babies when I moved a crate of fake fur. Oh, that was a fun day. So it's Harold for Harold the Spider, H for Harvestman, like the spider, H for Harvest, like the celebration, and Pumpernickel because it's just fun to say and it sounds like pumpkin. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you're all having a spooktacular Halloween or Samhain or whatever it is you celebrate. And what do you think of my jack-o'-lantern? It's my very first time ever carving one and I think I'm more proud of it than I am this spider. Don't forget to like and subscribe and tell me how you guys celebrate Halloween in the comments below. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!